All right, so in this presentation, I want to show you the big picture of how plants grow, move, and function. So the slide that you see here is the whole picture in just one slide. So I'm going to walk you through the different parts of it, starting with the food, where plants are making glucose from photosynthesis, and that happens in their leaves or any of the green structures. Then we're going to move into the cells, and these tubes called phloem are going to carry that glucose to the different cells. And once it gets into the cells, that sugar will be used for growth or biosynthesis or for energy in the process of cellular respiration. And we're going to see how this happens in all the cells in a plant. So to begin with here, plants make glucose from carbon dioxide and water in their leaves. So let's just look at these arrows here and the molecules moving around. So we start with that light blue arrow, and that's water coming from the stem into the cells of the leaf. So that water originally came from the soil, got sucked into the roots, and got carried up the plant and into the leaf. Also coming into the leaf is that black arrow, and that's carbon dioxide moving in through the stomata into the cells of the leaf. And there, sun hits the leaf, so the plant can do photosynthesis and creates glucose, which is the pink arrow, like cotton candy, pink sugar. And that's getting transported down the stem of the leaf to the rest of the plant. And then also coming out is the dark blue arrow, which is oxygen, and that's leaving the stomata out into the air around it, and that's the oxygen that we can breathe. So let's zoom in on one cell here, generic plant cell. So this one, again, is showing how carbon dioxide and water are moving into that cell, and glucose and oxygen are moving out. So this, again, this is happening in the leaves or in the stem or in the green parts of the plant because it needs light, and so it can't happen down below ground because there's no light down there. So the next part here, so we've made the food, we made that glucose, and now we're going to use that food to grow. So we're going to transport that glucose to the cells through these tubes called the phloem. And then it's going to be used for biosynthesis, which is really the fancy science word for growth. Bio means life, synthesis means to make. So in a way, we're making life, or we're making life get bigger. So that's the next step in our story here. So what happens to glucose made by photosynthesis? Well, it moves from a plant's leaves to all of its cells. So here's a couple of cells in the stem of that plant. And you can see the glucose is moving from the leaf slowly but surely into that cell. Oh, I should go back here. Sorry, as we're making that, as the glucose moves in, something that's not shown in this is the glucose will link together then to form sucrose and eventually starch or cellulose to make long chains, long polymers of those molecules. All right, so now we've done our biosynthesis, our plant has grown. That's great, but the next step is just survival, energy for cellular respiration. And even though it's not quite as obvious how plants use energy, like us, it's obvious. We go for a run, we move around, we flex our muscles, and that needs energy. But a plant needs energy to survive as well. So if there's any cell in a plant that needs to survive, it's going to do cellular respiration to make that happen, which is every single plant in the cell. Excuse me, every single cell in the plant. So it happens in the leaves, in the stem, in the potato, in the roots. It happens everywhere. So what we're doing here is we're going to take, sorry, let's zoom here. So we're going to take that glucose, that pink arrow, glucose is moving in from the leaf into a cell, and oxygen is going to move in from the atmosphere. So those are the products of photosynthesis. Now the plant is going to use them, and from those it's going to make carbon dioxide and water and release those into the air around the plant. But the whole purpose of this is to extract that chemical energy from the bonds in glucose and turn that into chemical energy in ATP so we can actually use it. So you really could say that we're getting useful energy out of our glucose when that plant is doing cellular respiration, or the plant is getting useful energy from the glucose when it does cellular respiration. So another way to look at it, generic plant cell, and this could be any cell in the plant. I know this one shows it's green, so it's sort of indicating that it only happens in green cells, but this could be happening in a root cell as well, or in a carrot, or in a potato. So glucose goes in, oxygen goes in, and out comes carbon dioxide and water. So if you could take a carbon dioxide probe and put it down in the soil next to the plant, you'd actually see carbon dioxide coming out of those roots because those roots are doing cellular respiration. So let's put this whole picture together. We start with food, plants making their own food. They're making their glucose, and they do that in the green parts. Then they're going to use that food to grow, so they're going to transport that food through their phloem to all the cells, not just the roots, but all over the place. And they're going to be using those to grow, and also so that they can function, and that's the cellular respiration piece. Okay. So there you have it, how plants grow, move, and function in a nutshell. Good luck.